Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this free Friday webinar. It's our first session after the new year, so Happy New Year to everyone, and good to see you that people are finding their way back to us after the holidays. We hope that you have had really nice, calm, and relaxing holidays, but now we have a lot to talk about today, so we will kick off quickly. The webinar is automatically captioned as usual, and you can use the CC button in Zoom to get the captions. And it's also recorded and will be published on our YouTube channel after the event. Your microphone is muted, and that is just to avoid background noise. And there will be a short presentation and then followed by Q&A. And you can start asking questions during the presentation if you like. And please do use the Q&A function and let the chat be more for interaction or any technical support. So we have today 520 people registered, and I see that people are still coming in, but I think we need to kick off because I know my dear colleague Malin has a lot to tell you about the custom cursor.
Hi, happy to be back. So today's very, very specific topic is when design kills usability and meet the custom cursors. I was supposed to do this together with Robin Lindblom, but unfortunately for us, but definitely not unfortunate for Robin. He is together with his wife at this very moment in the hospital and giving birth. So that's very good news for him, and we bring all our wish and luck to him. But that means he can't join us today, and you're stuck with only me. Fortunately enough, Robin and I recorded a dry run of the webinar earlier. And I will share parts of Robin's screen sharing from that recording. So Robin will kind of be here in technical spirit, even if it can't be here in person. That was the darkest thing I've seen in a long time. This was one of our test users with cognitive fatigue said when she encountered a custom cursor on a government-funded website. It was a button-like element that followed the mouse pointer around with the text scroll down. So when I asked Robin if he wanted to join me for this webinar, he said, but everyone understands that these cursors are just stupid, right? Right? Well, apparently not. I've been collecting these examples of these custom cursors for a while. Every time I stumble across one, I save the URL because they annoyed me. And I thought this can't be the next stupid trend we see out there, the next design thingy that spirals out of control. I usually found them on this kind of, ICT consultancy or design bureau sites. But then this autumn, when we tested museum website with 20 plus users with different cognitive aspects, elderly users, users with acquired brain injuries, low-tech users, people with autism, reading and writing difficulties, brain fatigue, intellectual disabilities. And there it was on one of the sites, a custom cursor of a government-funded museum website. But it wasn't just there. In a completely different project, a month later, we found them again. This time in a third-party service used by banks and public organizations. So this means the custom cursor are starting to becoming mainstream. They aren't just there on those fluffy, strange sites. So here we are, raising awareness of the inaccessibility of custom cursors. Because honestly, our test user was right. They are the darkest thing. So the cursor is the internet's traffic signal. We rely on cursor feedback for navigation cues. Where can I click? Where is the text? And we expect predictable behavior across all websites. So the arrow is something that usually turns up between elements. We have the I-beam when we are over text. People can use it for selecting or highlighting text. We have the hand when things are clickable to know that we can interact and click on them. We have the move and resize arrow. And we have these learned patterns. Replacing them breaks decades of learned behavior. Also, the cursor placement isn't random. Research shows that we keep our cursor near where we are reading, so eye tracking studies have documented these patterns. Many users use the cursor as a reading guide, dragging at long text to keep track on where they are or helping them where they read, or maybe to remember a certain word or show a word to a coworker. So there are several barriers these custom cursors create, and Robin will show some of them in the videos I have later on. So cursor enhancements you can do in your operating system or programs like ZoomText. You can customize your cursor on your own with your settings, making it larger, changing the color, adding supporting lines, configure it for eye tracking. Custom cursors tend to override all those settings. When you use magnifications, if you zoom into 200 or 400%, decorative cursors becomes enormous and block the content you're trying to read. Tracking features, so people with tremors or motor difficulties rely on predictable cursor behavior and clear visual feedback. Custom cursor breaks that. And breaking that learned pattern, when we learned hand means clickable, arrow means navigation, this creates a cognitive overload for us, trying to figure out what the new thing we see actually means. Plus, the standard cursors, we know exactly where the clickable point or the kind of thing that we know where we are supposed to aim the cursor to drag it over a text. But what we know that it's the tip of the arrow, the point of the finger. But what is it on a custom cursor? It's anyone's guess. People waste mental energy to figure out simple things. And they are only visible if we use a desktop and the mouse. For every other alternative input method, if we use touch or voice control or whatever, these custom cursors are not there helping you with whatever they were supposed for. Hopefully they were designed to have meaning when they say scroll down, because apparently people want understanding that. And that's only available for people with mouse. So it's kind of still locks out half of the things and trying to solve the wrong problem. So welcome to the horror show. Robin and I decided to keep the monsters from the blog post I wrote. So I hope you are ready. Let's the first monster get out. So the first monster out is the blob monster. It's the giant blob that hides text. We found a lot of horrific and great examples of this one, so it was hard for us to narrow it down, and some of them made us laugh so hard, so I have had to turn off the noise on the videos I'm showing, because we are mostly just having a hysteric breakdown on some of the mouse pointers. But before I show examples of the blob monster, I want to kind of show a culprit that usually comes along with the blob monster. So this usually works together with another monster, namely the micromanager. So the micromanagers are mouse pointers that kind of screams actions to you. It can be click here, view this, scroll down, read the text, or whatever it is. Because apparently we don't know what to do with the site if someone isn't screaming actions when we move around the mouse. Also, these instructions, they block the content. They add extra content that takes energy and concentration away from us. And as I said, if you don't have a mouse, you won't see these instructions, so maybe you should fix the site instead of adding extra usability issues with the mouse pointer. So let's move into the fun part where we show some examples. First out is a blob monster, kind of. It's the inverted version. These are very common. So the colors get inverted inside the mouse pointer. The mouse pointer is the round dot here. And for Robin, who uses inverted colors to read, this was kind of for him, he had hard to decide what to do with it because he liked when it's light text on dark background. But now the mouse made it kind of the text where he was reading, the two letters he was seeing inside the mouse being light text on dark backgrounds. So he had a hard time deciding if he should have it, in what way he should have it, and he wondered why the area wasn't larger, so that at least could have one word at a time, because this was just distracting and didn't really help anything, rather than making it hard to read the text. So the next video is, sorry, it's this one. This is a micromanager, and Robin's spontaneous comment on this was, "Oh, damn." So, okay, you can see the mouse pointer here. It has a button following it along, similar to the ones we saw on the Swedish Museum website. It says scroll to explore, and for Robin, he was kind of struggling with getting it so he could read it above the text. And as soon as he was trying to move his pointer down, it kind of covered big parts of the text. So he was forced to have it above where he was reading all the time. You can see that he still has the mouse pointer, kind of the eye beam there, explaining that he's on top of text. The next one, let's see it. This one is a doozy, right? It's really big. It's in the center of everything. It says scroll to explore. And here it's kind of surrounding the entire mouse pointer. So when we move it along, let's see. I have a hard time starting my movies. My technical wonder is killing me here. Okay. So when Robin zoomed in to the size he needs, you can see it's extremely little words you can see at a time. And the mouse pointer, since this is surrounding the mouse pointer, he tried to move it as far away from him as possible and trying to read on the other side, which he said was like cognitively hard to remember. And then still, it took him a lot of time to just read this 3 short line of text because it covered so much of his screen. And when you think it can't get worse, well, that's actually when it do get worse, because then we encountered this mouse pointer. It seems rather small, you see the little yellow, and then, ooh, yeah. It turns into this humongous circle saying explore. This actually covers the entire screen, more or less. And if that's not enough, they also added the blurry thing around it so they can kind of cover out everything Robin wanted to see at once. He had, when we used this site, tried to scroll in and out several times to see where it was because it was extremely disturbing and hard to tell where he was going. And then we moved to our absolute favorite cursor, the shapeshifter. The shapeshifter made us laugh so hard, so I think I had like cramps afterwards. The shapeshifter constantly changes forms. It transforms your cursor into something unrecognizable. This one can actually be anything, it turns out, and some of them constantly change forms throughout the website. So it's not enough that you kind of not recognize your web pointer, your mouse pointer. You also don't recognize it between the sites. You need to figure out what it's turned into. It's like it has an identity crisis on its own. So different shapes, different colors, different forms, constantly shifting. And our brain is working overtime trying to figure out where the cursor is and what it means. It's actually something, as I said, we had total breakdown testing this because something genuinely hilarious when your cursor turns into a sushi roll or when you're trying to figure out which part of the wok pan is the pointer you should aim for when clicking. Honestly, it's kind of sad that someone thought this was good design, so I'll show you what I mean. The first one out is kind of simple. It's this black arrow here, a very thin arrow. We are zoomed in a lot, so for me this is like a very flimsy, small thing that I almost couldn't see in the outzoomed portion. But the interesting thing with this one is it's black, you see, it's very, very thin. And when Robin inverted the colors to be able to read, the mouse pointer disappeared almost altogether because the mouse pointer kept being black. It wasn't inverted as it usually is. It had no outline. So he could only see the mouse pointer when he had non-inverted colors, but he preferred inverted to be able to read the text. So then we started discussing, we have this pointer. What is the clickable part of it? Apparently we thought it should be the top part of the mouse pointer, right? Because that's the pointy part. So Robin tried to highlight a text. He tried to highlight Le Mans here. But when he started, you see the actually pointy part of the mouse is the end of one of the arrow's corners, making the mouse pointer even harder to understand. Robin also thought that it sometimes looked like a logo flying around because it was such a stylistic type of arrow.
Malin, we got a question that I think maybe you didn't mention what magnification tool Robin is using.
Sorry, he's using zoom text, and he will show you when he is customizing the mouse. Later on, you will see part of the zoom text. I've cut some of it out because I thought the more interesting part is what happens after he has customized his mouse, like some user with zoom text use. But he uses zoom text to zoom in, and he needs to zoom in rather much to be able to read the text, and he likes to invert the colors. So he has light text on top of dark backgrounds. He does all that with zoom with short commands. So he works very quickly when he moves around websites. This one was actually one of Robin's horrific ones because he could never understand really what it did. So you can see it's that small purple triangle or something. The thing wasn't that it was a small purple triangle, it was hard to see at times, but it kept changing. So at times it was these forward and backward arrows. And he couldn't really figure out when it was a forward or backward arrow, if it meant that he was supposed to read in one or the other direction, or why it was kept changing. And also he said, it feels like they want to tell me something, and I'm not intelligent enough to understand what these forward and backward arrows actually are supposed to mean here. So we add cognitive issues to the arrows that keep covering text when we read it. This is the mouse pointer. Sorry, now it was sound. Here, I will turn it off. Okay, so this is the mouse arrow. You see it, it's a cooking hat. The thing with the cooking hat, that's what we wanted to move it over text, and then it turned out to a frying pan. Because, of course, a frying pan when you are over text, that makes sense. This is where we started laughing a lot because we said, what is the clickable part of the frying pan? Then it turned into sushi sticks, and later on also a sushi roll. The sushi roll is humongous and kind of covering the entire text. But it takes so much focus that we moved on from this one to the next strange mouse pointer. Now we have a snail moving around. This snail is kind of blurry right here in the zoomed in version. And it's in the middle of the screen, of course, so we focus a lot of the on the snail. We discussed what part of it was clickable, as with the arrow. Is it the kind of tail? So it makes a snail trail when you try to read with it over the text, or is it the nose? But you can see it's kind of the middle of the snail. So then Robin tried to click on a link just to see if it would change to a hand. Sorry, it started over. Here. And it did, but then when it came to the next site, it actually turned into a donkey that was facing the other direction, making us very unsure what was the clickable part of that donkey now, if it was the nose or the back. But the largest issue is here when Robin zoomed into the level where he could actually read the text, which he's doing in just a short while. The donkey is rather big, and he said, I'm so distracted with the donkey face looking me in the eyes when I move and try to read the text that I can't really kind of focus here, because it's just a big donkey in the middle of the screen walking around like a friend trying to get me to do something else than being at the computer. So I thought we should show you when we tried to we forgot to actually test changing those fun pointers to customized pointer for Robin, because we were laughing too hard. So we did it on this little blue dot, and it was actually the smallest mouse pointer we tested. It was, you can see it's smaller than the text, and this is normal sized bread text on the site. So this is a really, really small blue dot that the mouse pointer has turned into. And he tried to invert the colors to check if the colors of the mouse changed, because he thought the mouse was really hard to see since it was blue on a yellow background, and then it became blue on a green background. So he decided to change his pointer so we could see it better. So he chose one in zoom text, which is a yellow one with a red cross to kind of keep your eyes on something. You can see it down there, it works, but when we moved up to the website, we still has this blue little dot, and that is the mouse pointer. So it completely overrode the settings. This was another website which had another way of handling the mouse settings. Let's see, because this is so. Can you see it? No? Okay. So there is a roller and there's a hand painting brush. The hand painting brush is apparently the hand when you're on a link, and the roller is apparently the arrow. We figure out after a while, so we thought we would change it to customized pointer. So we choose the same yellow with the red cross, and what happened? It kind of worked. So it kind of listened to the settings, but still not. So we got a yellow roller with a red cross around it. And we thought we got kind of shocked by this. How can they listen to some settings and not all? So Robin had to try to change it to something else, because it was just fun to test this website out. And then it turned out that it also kind of listened to it, but we got a red circled ruler instead. Very nice, right? Or when we were on top on links, of course, it became a red paintbrush, because that explains that something is clickable. Our issue here is that when we do these custom cursors, these user settings, they get thrown out of the window. And the cognition of trying to understand and the distraction these cursors make are really annoying. But the cognition is even worse when it comes to the last monster, the comet tail. This is when we have trailing effects and animation after the cursor. I will show you two examples. The first one I thought was really annoying, and Robin didn't see it until he zoomed out because it made me kind of nauseous and I had a hard time concentrating. Then the other one was really annoying for him because the effect was so large when he was zoomed in that he said it was the worst of them all. Um, so they are cognitive overloads. I will start this one. So you see, Robin is zooming around. It kind of looks normal. It's black. He has his white mouse. He's reading the text. And I said, are you not annoyed? Because this is the effect you see when he zooms out. When I moved around on the side, all I saw was this kind of, what's it called, like dark cloud moving around and kind of distracting me. But when he was zoomed in, the effect was less. So he said, well, it's kind of okay for me if I'm not moving my mouse really fast and I don't have to low zoom. Then we moved down to this mouse. And this is very extreme, but this actually is horrifying when you have zoomed in because these pixels are moving quickly across the screen and you can't kind of lose them. And trying to follow along, trying to read the text or whatever, they're just there following you, pixels trying to distract you. When we change the mouse pointer on these, since we have a mouse pointer, the settings works, but the trailing effect is kind of there still. So there's levels of degrees in hell, or what we should say.
Malin, we need to wrap up very quickly.
Yep, I'm actually done.
Oh, that's good. Perfect. So thank you very much. I think we have all been laughing a lot, horrified. There are two questions that come back all the time. So something about, is it possible to, or what part of the code makes it impossible to override these custom cursors with your own, with Zoom text or with your own preferences, your own settings? Why doesn't it work to...
I'm actually not sure. I think it's a combination of different codes used. So it's probably JavaScript and they use CSS and different things. So depending on how they do them, because we saw so many different versions of them, they react differently on the tools. But there are different tools, and I don't think they've tested with any of the tools.
Surely not. Okay, and the other is either what EN 301549 criteria or WCAG success criteria that you would point to make sure that your stupid clients don't use this. If we ever, I don't think any of our clients have, but people are asking that. So what would you point to legally if the client?
We have the 11.7 user preferences that says that the website or app shouldn't override any user preferences you have set. And since you can change the mouse, how the mouse looks and interacts, that's a breach against 11.7, I would say. And the other one is that, oh, I can't remember the name now, 11.6, I think it is, 6.2 maybe, which is about accessibility features. So no website and no app software are allowed to override the accessibility features a user use. And I think in the new version, that's also true for websites. But of course, we should listen to the user preferences. It's one of the best requirements in the EN 31549, I think, at least.
Perfect. Thank you, Malin. We need to move
Yep.
on. You have got a lot of positive people, positive responses everywhere. So we usually do 5 tips, but now we only have 1 tip, and that's don't create a custom cursor.
Yeah. If you see them or someone asks you to make one, ask them to stop. And please share this webinar or the blog post or your own thoughts. And if you prefer, so custom cursors doesn't become the mainstream. The job for the cursor is to be invisible, not the tool and not the star of the site.
And if you want to know more from us, please do subscribe to our newsletter and follow or follow us on LinkedIn and our colleague will share the links to both the blog post that Malin wrote about this, where we have more details, and also the links to where you can sign up for the newsletter and the LinkedIn. And for next time we meet, I think is in 2 weeks. The next Friday webinar is focusing on the users and the beauty of enforcement of the European Accessibility Act and how it empowers users in different ways. So moving the perspective from what the economic operators have to do to what the end users actually are entitled to do. That is what we are talking about next in 2 weeks. So thanks a lot, Malin, for this. There was a lot of things to look at, but I think people were extremely happy. So thank you for sharing all the horrors and your little monsters. That was very nice. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Now use the rest of the afternoon to make something accessible, and see you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.